On today's episode, we talk network cable services, construction, Adam Theilen, free solo, and Winnie-the-Pooh.
Some of the biggest impacts in a community happen at the local level. We'll dive deep into the challenges local businesses face, their biggest achievements, and what they're doing to make a positive impact in their local community. It's time to get the word out right here on the Johnny Miller Audio Experience, powered by Veracity Storage. Now, welcome your host, the man himself, Johnny Miller.
Welcome, ladies and gents. This is Johnny Miller, and you're listening to the Johnny Miller Audio Experience, powered by Veracity Storage, Episode 2. Today's guest brings an extensive background in property maintenance, customer relations, and subcontracting. Currently working for Network Cable Services, he provides cable systems to support high-speed data and voice communication networks. He believes in providing quality solutions and services which exceed the expectations of customers. When he's not planning the next project for Veracity Storage or working for NCS, you'll most likely find him at the lake spending time with friends and family. Our guest today, my friend, my business partner, Dustin Ertelt. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
What do you know?
Man, this is pretty awesome here.
Yeah, Episode 2, dude. How do you feel, man?
You got the setup.
Yeah,
I like this.
nice.
I like your vision, man.
The conference room works really good for it.
This is going to be epic. I can see it long term. I see your vision.
All right, I know you kind of know the format, but the first segment of basically every podcast is going to be the drink of the day.
Okay.
So what I got, Robbie called it pretty good. He called it a grab bag of drinks. So today we have 7 different drinks. We got everything from Diet Coke, Diet Mountain Dew, we got some Kickstart energy drinks, we got chocolate milk, we got water, I got Frappuccinos. What is this? This is like a chocolate mocha Frappuccino, and then obviously we got Busch Light. It's 9:30 in the morning, so the Busch Light might be out, but hey, you never know. Robbie wanted a Morgan Diet at 10:30 on last episode, so.
Morgan Diet, ooh, that'd be good.
Yeah, I didn't bring the Morgan today because
You know, I'm trying to start kicking the caffeine. I actually haven't had any caffeine for about 8 months, so I think I'll
So you're doing the water?
I'm just going to
That's so lame. I might not let guests drink water from now on.
there's water in there. What else do you got?
All right, let's do water. Let's do water.
I'll do chocolate milk.
No, you do a chocolate milk. We'll do chocolate milk. That's fine.
Okay.
Do you want chocolate milk or
Let's
water?
do it. What?
All right, buddy. Cheers.
Let's do
We're doing the chocolate milk.
That's so boring. But
The thing I was going to say is I might not let guests do water. You want to have it? No, I will.
I don't know if you should keep it in there. You should.
I forgot that you're on the no caffeine kick because you always want decaf coffee, right? Oh, man.
I don't know. At one point, I was just, I don't know, you kind of become addicted to coffee, drink it all day long, or at least my family has a tendency to do that. So with decaf, I just drink 1 cup in the morning when it's warm, when it's cold outside, and drink it up.
Yeah, so last week we had Rob on for our first episode, so we probably have about 2 or 3 listeners possibly at this point, maybe more with our families and stuff like that, but kind of for people who don't know your story or don't kind of know what you're into, how about you just give us a little rundown of how you got to where you are, since you can go all the way back to elementary, high school, wherever you want to start. I'm going to learn something about you today. This is going to be great. Where'd you go to high school?
I guess West Fargo High School.
Another Packer, just like Rob.
Yep. Rob and I actually know each other since 7th grade. We played basketball together. Rob and I were on the same team, and he wasn't all that great at basketball.
He didn't mention basketball as a sport in his last podcast.
Let's just say I'm not here to bash it. Let's say Rob was.
He's a wrestler and a football player.
Yeah. Well, I think he's more of a wrestler than anything. Let's just say. But I've known Rob since 7th grade. I guess I remember one vivid story when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, and our teacher, they were having basically like a STEM project is what they'd call it today, science, technology, engineering. But back then it was more or less engineering, that's about it. So the goal was to have put together a bunch of paper towel rolls and toilet paper rolls and make a tube system with so many joints, a vertical tube system with so many joints, and have a marble roll through it. And then there was leaders that were, maybe I couldn't remember if they were voted on or if the leaders were she just picked somebody to lead the team.
Sure.
And then they kind of directed what people to do on the process, and they tried to build this. And at 2nd grade, you can imagine how that all went.
Yeah.
Right? So I remember that, and it's kind of a microcosm of my life today, to be honest. I was this leader that didn't know what he was doing and trying to lead this group of kids, but I had enough confidence in myself that I was going to figure it out along the way, and we were going to do it as a group. So ours wasn't the best, certainly wasn't the best product at the end, but
So that's kind of how you got excited and started with like a little bit of leadership, like already in second grade, kind of already building up.
right. I mean, I think being having that maybe that pressure on your shoulders always kind of drove me a little bit more. You know, when I would play baseball, when I was in Little League and high school, I always wanted to be the pitcher. I always wanted to be the guy who had the ball in his hands. It just kept me more focused. It kept me more engaged when I was someone who was relied upon. So that kind of went throughout my career. After high school, I went to Minneapolis and went to college there for a little bit, but still had a passion. I always had a passion for construction because of high school. We did some building trades, and I wanted to be a teacher. And in the summer times, I wanted to build houses, like one of my mentors that I had in school.
Right.
And so I went to Minneapolis and went to school to be a school teacher. And I did that for about a year and a half. And that specific school program dealt with inner city schools. So this was a program that basically would place me in an inner city to teach inner city children, which some of the prerequisites were you needed to go out to these inner cities and interview teachers and talk to them about certain situations that they encounter every day. And I did that, and I kind of realized that maybe
That wasn't for you?
Yeah. I mean, all the power to those teachers out there. I feel they got a lot on their hands. And honestly, I just couldn't emotionally handle it. And I felt like construction would probably be more my mainstay. So in the meantime, we were renting a property in Minneapolis.
So this is after high school? What year did you graduate?
This was 2000.
High school.
I graduated 2002.
2002 from
Yeah,
West Fargo? And
yeah,
then you kind of started this after high school?
Yeah, so this was about 2003, 2004. So this is about my second year down in Minneapolis, and I started to start. That was kind of the craze, like flipping houses, taking on
Right.
renos. That was kind of like the first phase of it. People were buying these properties and renovating them in the cities and started flipping them. And that was the first time I was experienced any sort of flip type business. And I was pretty amazed by it. Our landlord, he owned multiple properties in uptown Minneapolis, and these properties were 150 years old, and they were owned by him solely. He owned them. His name was Craig Kessel. He's probably still there to this day. Kessel Properties. Funny fact. He later on was like 5-10 years later, after I was out of Minneapolis, he was on like one of these reno shows on.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw him on TV one time, and I was like, oh my God, that's my landlord. But his dad had basically given him these properties, and they were all old fourplexes in uptown, a very eclectic area in Minneapolis where everybody wanted to be at. So at the time, I think we were paying $1,200 to $1,300. This was 2002 for a 4-bedroom. So you can imagine he had 10, 15 of these properties all paid for.
All right.
So there was a maintenance guy there who kind of wanted me to help him out, do some work. So basically we'd go down to these old properties and fix them up, take out windows, put in new windows, redo the stucco, pull down ceilings.
So that's kind of how you got into your construction background. Almost started off early, right after high school.
Yeah, from there I realized like this Craig Kessel, he's got it figured out. Like this guy, at some point, I mean, he had it figured out. I mean, he was just managing these properties and doing his best. And, he was a great guy, honestly. He just kind of had this calmness about him where he wasn't involved with the rat race.
Right.
So that kind of, he stood out. Like, he stood out from everybody else I was maybe encountering. Like, everybody, teachers, workers, everybody else had this mantra about them. They just needed to get the bills paid. And he had this calmness about him, which he wasn't a mean guy. He was a very nice guy. He was very easy to work with, and he was just humble, and honestly, I was very impressed on how his life turned out at like 45 years old. And so yeah, at that point I was like, I want to be in this business.
Right.
I like construction. I want to get into houses. I want to rent houses out. I want to be a property owner, but a good property owner, a property owner that, someone could come to and say, hey, I got a little issue. I can't possibly make rent this month. Will you help me out? And I think, Veracity as a whole, we work with our customers, and I think they appreciate that long term. It's more of a relationship than a landlord type atmosphere. But so came back to Fargo, and I wanted to continue in the construction field. And my brother got me a job doing fire sprinklers.
How's that for you?
It was great.
It's not the easiest on the body.
No, it's not. It's pretty rigorous on the body. It's one of the more rigorous jobs out there in the construction field on the body. A lot of people get injured over time. The unions have done a good job of increasing the pay, making sure that, knowing that most guys probably are pretty much broke down by the time they're 50 in that industry. So it's good that the unions have come in there and taken care of that and figured out how to get them paid well. So that was always a thing for me, is I wanted to get paid well soon.
Right.
So, and my brother, he was doing well, so I had someone to look up to, and honestly, he taught me a lot. He was a leader as well, so he taught me a lot how to organize jobs and figure out how to get them done on time and communicate with job soups and when you say something, you're going to do it and get it done. And he taught me a lot in that industry. So in the meantime, I also had another mentor when I was working there, and actually my cousin Justin. And it just so happened that he also was into real estate, and that was kind of his side thing. He from a young age, even 19, 20, he was starting to think about being a landlord, owning properties, long-term investments like this. So he got me on a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he sat me down and he said, hey, you got to read this book, when I was 22 years old, 23 years old. So I read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and we would talk about it every day. We'd go to work and he'd teach me sprinkler fitting, and then he would teach me about, building wealth through real estate and the quadrant, and how you need to, you can be an employee, you can be an investor, you can be a business owner, you can be self-employed, and what those benefits are you're going to have long term. But ultimately, to get started out, you have to be pretty conservative. You got to save up that cash so that you can make that investment into those properties. And that was one of the first phases that I was going through. So while learning the sprinkler trade, I always was pretty conservative, and I met my wife, and we bought a house, and I always wanted to. At that point, I was still looking to get into rental properties. I was thinking about possibly renting out our house. And Amber and I went back and forth on that when we were thinking about doing some rentals. And this was right when we were about to move. And then this is when Rob came to me. And I'd saved money. I was prepared to start to rent, or start to get in the rental game. And Rob and I had always talked about doing business together like that, because he had already had a rental property, so he had some experience in that. So when I went to Rob and said, because he was my financial advisor at the time, Rob, can you, I'm thinking about, I want to do this house thing. What are you thinking? He's like, it's funny you ask, he says. And Rob is, he's a very good networker, and he knows a lot of people. And to be honest with you, step back about a year and a half before Rob was my financial advisor, I hadn't seen Rob for 7-8 years.
Oh, wow.
And to be honest with you, when we were growing up through high school, there were so many kids in our school. I don't think either Rob nor I would ever say, point at each other and say, that guy I will be married to financially for the rest of my life.
Right.
But I saw Rob. I remember seeing Rob when I was like 25 when we saw each other, because he had moved back to Fargo from Grand Forks after going to college and doing his service. I remember seeing Rob in the gym, and I was like, and I saw him from afar. I was like, I gotta go talk to him. Something drew me to Rob at that point.
Right.
It was weird. It was a very weird. It was one of those moments in your life you look back and you're like, something. I didn't need to go over there and talk to him. It could have been one of those flyby high school relationships where you were like, hey, remember me? Remember you? Cool. What's up? See you.
Right.
And honestly, Rob and I we rolled in a type of group like when we played football together, but other than that, we didn't roll in the same group. So it wasn't a very like, hey man, missed your deep conversations we had back in high school, because it wasn't like that, you know?
Right.
But we got together, and he told me he was a financial advisor, and that's when I started, I need some financial advice, and I need some life insurance, and he sold that as well as New York Life. So we got together and started talking business. Flash forward to, this would be, like 5 years later, basically, 28, 29. And so I go to Rob and I say, I'm ready to do this. What are you thinking? He's like, that's funny you ask. I have a friend, this guy right here in front of me, John Miller, who wants to do storage. And honestly, storage never really crossed my mind.
I never thought.
It was always houses. Like,
Right.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. At that point, I had gone through a lot of books of Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Right.
like 5 books, right? So storage was never mentioned in there. And I didn't know any better. I just like house.
Right. You don't know what you don't know sometimes.
And then so we had this meeting with Rob and my wife, and we talked about the storage business, and I remember thinking, this is a damn good idea.
Yeah, that was a good meeting. So we'll get back, kind of backtrack to recap. So you basically finished high school, West Fargo. You went to the cities, worked on some construction stuff, kind of were thinking about flipping houses. Came back to Fargo Moorhead area, started working for a sprinkler fitting.
Yep, advanced.
Serendipitously ran into Rob at the gym, right? And then you're like, oh, I got this guy that's interested in storage. It's kind of where we're at right now, huh? And then currently, though, you work for NCS, right?
Yeah, Network Cabling Services.
Yeah. How's that going?
It's a great job. I really love it. It's a very interesting industry.
So people who don't really know what NCS is, or Network Cable Servicing, what do you guys exactly do?
Well, we mainly work with IT individuals. So there's big companies around Fargo Moorhead, High Points Network, the Network Center. So
Right.
companies like this will come into a business. For example, let's take Veracity, for example. Veracity needs a firewall, needs to get set up with a network system where they feel comfortable, where they can do transactions. And if you have multiple employees, then you got to integrate them on the system, because they're always putting information into the software that's built for them, for their company.
Right.
So that there has to be an individual cloud within that company. So what Network Center will do is they can do that on the software side, but they need people who can do that on the hard side, which means there needs to be nuts and bolts guys putting all these pieces together. I mean, when it comes down to it, networks are wireless to a point, but from that wireless access point in the ceiling, there's a wire connected all the way back to the network, in which that network goes down to a fiber line, which goes into the ground, which now you're pulling bulldozers or dirt work to get those wires to certain places around the city. So it goes from a very clean type of construction project, which basically a network system, to a very dirty one when it gets outside. So there's a lot of integrated systems, and to be honest with you, this industry is super, super new. Fiber optics, which is the main driver for our internet today, we wouldn't have the internet with fiber optics, came out in the 70s. Fiber optics is basically, it's glass wire that can send information from one end to another end, infinite amount of length, so across the ocean, without there is some interference. They're figuring that out though, but there is some interference, but very minimal.
It just gets better and better, I'm guessing, as time goes on with technology.
Well, you heard Donald talking about 5G network. We're a 4G network with your phones. You're looking potentially at a 5G network, so that would be an upgrade in the wiring. It would be an upgrade in the nuts and bolts of all the systems. So, then you're pulling the old wire out, and then you're putting the new wire in, and that's basically my job in a nutshell. Always we're upgrading services and systems, because the systems because are always driven to be better. For example, we're doing an AV system in Microsoft right now, and it's a conference room just like this, and they do a lot of video conferencing. So basically that video conference can be across the world, so they're talking to people in potentially China, Japan, and there'll be 5, 6, 8 people sitting around this conference table. It'll be fully recorded. The microphones will be absolutely to the nine. There's no interference at all.
Awesome.
And if there's issues where people can't quite hear, you can stick in headphones. Basically everywhere around the table, it doesn't matter where you're sitting, it's all going to be very well easily to be heard. The video quality is going to be amazing, and they just continue to upgrade this process. So I think in the future you're just going to see a lot more technology in buildings that you might not necessarily have thought would be in there.
So it's definitely a good future for a business like that. There's going to be a lot to do with like the cable servicing networks and setting all that stuff up.
Honestly, I don't think I would be in a business that I didn't feel like innately or subconsciously feel like it's something that's going to be profitable or in the future be exponentially profitable.
Yeah, it's definitely a business that you can see in the future that it's not going to be taken over by technology. I mean, you're not going to automate like installing network systems and cables into businesses, like anything in customer service is going to be automated. Basically all customer service telephone, like when you call your credit card or you call your bank, that's all going to be automated. The big one's going to obviously be transportation, trucks, like all the trucks in the next 10 years. There won't be truck drivers. Like they'll have to figure out something else. It's going to be really interesting.
Well, those truck drivers I think will actually be in the trucks. Like they'll be techs basically. Right
away.
They'll be logging it and figuring out what if something goes wrong.
They'll be like an override basically. They'll be in the trucks right away. But then down the road they'll be like fully autonomous basically.
Right. So I mean, there you go. So there's a guy like myself who knows networking, who knows data cabling, who knows gauges of wire, which all that low volt will be inside that system. They're like, hey, we need you to ride in this truck. You're not a truck driver, but you know how to drive, but we need you to watch this system and make sure it's working properly. And if something doesn't work, you need to trace it back to this place where it's not working. Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see in the future how that kind of plays out. So you're doing the NCS thing, and then you're also doing Veracity Storage, using a lot of your time for that as well. How's that going?
Great. I love it. It's awesome. It provides purpose in my life. It's a dream come true, really. You look back at in early days, and then to high school days, and then to college days, and it's all coming to fruition. It took years.
Right.
But I don't think I would ever to spell it out in paper 10 years ago and say, hey, I wanted to own a 350 unit storage facility with a fully automated computer system, which you can rent online via chat, email. You basically do it just online without even doing any of that. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, basically, we've built a beautiful office here that we can do stuff like this, and sky's the limit at this point. It's been eye-opening, really. Is you just put your head down, you put purpose to your life, and all of a sudden it comes to fruition, and it's very, very, very enlightening, and I can't wait to teach my children that this is how it goes in life.
Yeah, right.
You might expect something, but you're going to be potentially given more than what you expected, and then you should want that. You should expect that in life. I feel bad for people who don't know that you can have as much as you want, either it be money or prosperity or health or family or any of that. You can have it all. It's just a matter of putting in your head that you deserve it.
Right.
And then putting your head down and focusing on it and making it a priority. And ultimately, if you do it well, it comes back to you tenfold. And that's been a learning process for me. one thing for me is now in my life, I just want to focus on the things that I'm good at. I've spent too much time in my life probably playing all positions of the field.
Right.
You know, I always, as a baseball player, I always thought it was important to play every position because then you could always be in the game, right? You know, it took me a while, but because that excited me. But now at the point in my life, I'm like, just perfect the things
that you're good at, right?
Yeah, be a good dad.
You can hire somebody, especially in the business side, you can hire somebody to do the things that you're not good at, right? Like, not that I can't do it, like construction things, like, basically aren't my favorite, right? Like, it's just something that I'm not passionate about and don't really enjoy. You know, you hire people to do that. Like, we built this facility. I'm really good with the operational side. I'm good with the financing, you know, the marketing, the budget stuff, loan presentation, the banking, all the financial type of stuff. That's the stuff I excel in. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to waste my energy, like, you know, framing out the office building or something like that.
No doubt.
So, I mean, some people love to do that. And, I mean, yeah, you definitely got to use your time and your energy efficient. It definitely makes a big difference. If you're putting your energy into, like, the things that you're passionate about, I mean, you can really move forward pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, other than, like, work and storage and all that, what else do you do? You got any favorite sports teams or anything like that?
Nah, yeah. Unfortunately.
Aren't you a huge Raiders fan?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Jeez, that's sad. Where are they going to play next year? Do they even have anywhere to play?
I think we're going to be in Oakland.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, one last hurrah.
That's where they're going to play? They decided that's where the season's going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be in Oakland.
That's going to be crazy.
They're voting this. I think it's this week. This upcoming week, they're going to do it. So they're going to pay Oakland like $7.5 million to rent it out. Where 3 or 4 years ago, Oakland was desperate for them just to be there, and they'd only have to pay $1 million. But now Oakland has a little leverage because there's no place for Oakland or the Raiders to go. Right. It's kind of
so they're getting like 7 years worth of in one.
Yeah, I feel bad for the city of Oakland because they have like $150 million debt on that stadium that's not going to be filled. What
do you think they do? Do they tear that down or they use it for something else?
I think that stays there. I think there's opportunity for like another one of these AAF teams or XFL teams to kind of show up and use it. I mean, it's still feasible. It still works. Right. It's just old and decrepit. I've been there. It's terrible. I mean, I would never my wife wouldn't let me take my kids there, first of all. Vegas is going to be amazing. I mean, you're going to be able to order food to your seat from your phone. You'll be able to go on field. If like they're going to do in-game field experiences or in-game football experiences, you can sign up for, and you'd be able to do that. Like go on the field or go to the tunnel where the players are walking through.
That'd be cool.
Maybe sign up for that. You could in-game, you could potentially on your phone, if there's seats available, upgrade your seat to a different seat that's available in-game.
That makes sense.
So it's going to be totally integrated. They signed a contract with a networking company just this past week, and they've been talking about what you're going to be able to do in the stadium, and it's going to be a total experience. I mean, people are going to pay $200-$300 because it's going to be one of a kind of experience.
That's going to be really cool.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. How's the team looking? You think, who do they got? Any good draft? What do they got first round draft picks? Like a ton?
Yeah, a ton. Yeah, we'll see.
Like a couple, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's for them to screw up, I guess.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you'd think with 3 draft picks you'd be able to figure it out, 3 first round draft picks, but we'll see.
I don't know what's worse, being a Raiders fan or a Vikings. I don't know, it's tough either way.
Well, for me, the Raiders are pretty much out of it by mid-season, so then I become a Vikings fan.
Yeah, so I get the stress of the Vikings every year, like kind of doing okay and then sucking.
Yeah, so I have this Viking fandom where I'm not like a super fan, but I'm like, I kind of want them to win and see what happens, and then I kind of want them to lose in the end and just watch all my buddies and their...
I know for like talking to you this year, I think you checked out of NFL season by like week 4 or 5. And you're like, oh, the Raiders sucked.
Yeah, and the Vikings didn't do any much better after that.
They were always like hanging around, possibly trying to make the playoffs, which is really annoying. Just enough to like keep you, watching and interested. And then obviously all they got to do is win the last game, and they're just terrible. Anyway,
and I mean, Kirk Cousins, I don't know, is he the answer?
I mean, he's as good as they're going to get. I mean, what's your other options? I mean, they're the quarterback. There's not like a ton of great quarterbacks that you're going to get.
No.
I mean, you could potentially draft a quarterback every single year just hoping he pans out. Like, I have no idea. Like, you're just not going to... It's just so tough to find a good quarterback. I think his numbers look good, but, like, it's hard to tell. Is it, like, you know, garbage time numbers? I mean, what do you throw? 30 touchdowns or something? 10 interceptions? Like, 4,500 yards or something? Like, that's not terrible. He has, like, one of the better passer ratings under pressure, which their offensive line is so bad. He was always under pressure.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It's just whatever. I think, honestly, when a team does really good, the quarterback gets too much credit. And when they do bad, they get too much of the...
Right. So, did they pay Theilen then? They give him some cash this year?
I don't know what they did. I don't know. I think he did not take a lot of money because he just said he loves Minnesota and wants to play for the Vikings.
That's crazy. I mean, honestly, though...
Detroit Lakes guy, man.
Some people just don't want the money. I mean,
I think he got a little bit. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you. I just know that he didn't get as much as he could have because he said he wants to stay in Minnesota.
Well, now he had 120 catches last year.
Yeah, he's like one of the best receivers in the league. Pretty crazy story how he just walked on.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's just the want, you know.
Yeah.
The want that he has.
Yeah, some guys get their shot, man. They take advantage of it. I mean, a lot of that is, you know, related to business. You know, you just gotta, you just try. You never know what happens.
Yeah.
Like, you just gotta, you can do it. Like, you can basically do anything if you just put your mind to it.
I think that's why we're alike, because we always think of certain situations in life, like this football situation. We always pertain to business. Like,
I mean, honestly, if he's like running like a 4.9 and he can't like jump, like, okay, yeah, you're not going to be a receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
But if you have like the tangible skills and you believe in yourself and like you work hard, like, he's just like, why can't I do it? Like, I can, you know. And then obviously he's just a freak route runner, and he's got great hands. So
he figured out what the best receivers do in the NFL, and he did it. And that's the key. Have you seen this movie Free Solo?
Some of my friends are talking about it. I heard it's just sick. Like, the dude is like, it's ridiculous, right? It won some awards, but I heard the guy is like hanging by his fingertips, like 4,000 feet up or something.
So the director's, his last name's Chen. He actually directed it with his wife, and he's been around the climbing world. He's from Mankato, Minnesota.
Did you watch the movie?
I watched the movie,
God. I heard it's tough to watch.
It's tough to watch. It's unbelievable.
They're basically filming him thinking they're going to film him dying. I mean, he's just incredible. And they're like, the people filming are like professional rock climbers, and they're just like freaking out.
Well, his mentor is so his mentor, I forget his name. I think his name is Jimmy. Let's just say it's Jimmy. His mentor is like his best friend now.
Right.
Because he grew up what is his first name? Alex. I think it's Alex Hanold is his name. He grew up kind of a nerdy kid, super smart, like super smart. Grew up in a big high school in California, I want to say. And he didn't really have any passions, like he didn't want to do the sports, but he got to a climbing rock wall and started climbing at a young age. Well, he became, like, his mentor was this certain climber, and I forget his mentor's name, but he's in the movie, right? So now his mentor climbs El Capitan with him for practice, like, because his mentor had climbed it numerous times. Like, before, it was just cool enough that you could climb it in a day with ropes. Like, wow, that's amazing. You're the shit because you can climb this thing with ropes all the way to the top in a day. Like, you did it in 16 hours. Dude, you're putting you on a magazine, right? So now this guy climbs with Alex, right? So they go up this mountain, and then his mentor is turned into, like, he'll go on screen and he'll be like, I honestly, like, people watch this, they're going to think, like, oh yeah, he's got it, he'll take care of it. But if you're a climber, like I'm a climber and done this before, you are scared shitless. Because you know.
But he's not scared, though. That's what's crazy. He's just, like, so confident in himself. Well, this right here says, New York Times says, his free solo climb should be celebrated as the greatest athletic feat of any kind ever.
Ever. I would agree.
That's amazing. Think about that. That's so crazy.
I've never been there, but they do a good shot, like a good cinematograph shot.
They have, like, drones and stuff, right? Like, going around and, like, people on ropes. And
of El Capitan and how huge it is.
Yeah. Well, look at that photo right there. How creepy does that look?
Yeah.
That's so nuts, dude.
So along the way, he gets his girlfriend, right? And she's like a total fangirl. She
Really?
meets him
And
at
that's his girlfriend?
Yeah, she meets him at the bookstore, and he's just like this nerdy kid who probably doesn't want anything to do with women. Like anything to do with anything other than climbing, he doesn't want to do it. He eats strictly organic. He's a vegan, or he's a vegetarian. He lives in this van for 9-10 years, and he just climbs. And then every so often he was climbing solos, and he had done other mountains before El Capitan, and he would do them basically on his own. Like he'd just wake up one day and he's like, I'm gonna climb that mountain.
So it's a Jimmy Chin, is that his
Yeah, Jimmy Chin's from
buddy?
he's from Mankato. And I think they all run in groups now, like all the mountaineers and the climbers all run in groups. And there's one scene where the mentor, Alex's mentor, talks about all the people he knows that have died. Like,
that's crazy.
It's just a part of life for them. Eventually they're going to die, and it's probably going to be before they're 45. I mean, some of them make it. Like they had a synopsis of, or a born and deceased date of probably 5-6 climbers over the years, and they don't live past 50. They just continue to climb and climb and climb and climb and climb until they die.
Do you think it's something to do with this, like they're in control of their own life, or do you think they're adrenaline junkies? What do you think? Like, obviously when you're doing something like that, you think like you have you're in control of everything.
He had a study done on this. Crazy. Alex has a study, an MRI done on his head, like in the movie. They do an MRI, and the doctor basically says, you aren't stimulated like the rest of us are stimulated.
Right.
Your brain works immensely different than my brain. Because
like he keeps himself completely calm and completely like
mundane shit. Like everything's mundane to him except for basically being on the brink of life or death.
That's crazy. That's a terrible way to live, but I guess whatever.
And there's a scene in there where he's done, right? He climbs this mountain, and this girl is in love with him. Basically, she falls in love with him, and he's kind of basically so focused on this rock. He loves her. He does. He loves her. But he won't show it to her because he knows that he could die. So he's Makes sense. Whenever she's like, I love you, he's like, he's like giving her a hug. And whenever they talk about this mountain, he basically says, or this El Capitan, he's like, I don't want you around when I'm doing this. And he kind of pushes her away. In the meantime, they buy this house together in Las Vegas while he's living. And he doesn't want to live in this house, but she wants to make this life with him because she loves him and she wants to grow a family with him. And this, Mother Nature, or just our intuition to be humans and find somebody that we love and procreate is like in her, and he has nothing to do with it. He just does not want to do it. Right? He wants to focus on this mountain. So he sends her away basically.
When they break up.
He basically, in the movie.
This is all in the movie?
Yeah, in the movie he tells her, you need to leave. Like, you need to leave so I can climb this. Because they're sitting at the bottom of this El Capitan for weeks. Because he has to come up with enough focus and energy and strength to be like, I'm going to do this. He tries it one time with the cameras and gets too freaked out. He's like, I can't do this. So he stops, and then they go back down to his car, and they sit there for like weeks until he can figure it out. And I think he starts feeling like he'll be able to do it. It's
all like mental, basically, right?
So then he goes and tells his girlfriend to leave, basically. And she's distraught, but she understands. She's kind of in the mountain climber world, so
I gotta watch this.
She gets kind of...
Probably on Amazon Prime.
It is. I bought it, or I rented it the other night. It's on it.
I mean, it only won 11 awards. No big deal.
It's
got like Academy Awards, got British Academy Awards. What else did it win? Just a bunch of crazy stuff. National Board of Review, Documentary of the Year, Best Documentary. Oh my God, this looks amazing. Yeah, a couple of my buddies are talking about it, like just the other day actually. And then the Academy Awards are just on too, so I know it like won a bunch of stuff. But it'd be crazy. I mean, what's gonna happen? Oh,
but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if next week he falls. He was.
Here's the thing, right? Here's what I think. So, whatever. So, say he's in control of his body or whatever, and he's climbing these rocks, and he's got a good hold. Like, what about like this? anomaly stuff. What, like a wind burst or something like a air pressure, like it happens to planes all the time. What if he's just climbing this rock and a big wind thing comes and he's just like
dies?
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with him like slipping or not, like it's things that he can't control, which is really scary. Like you could, die from things you cannot control, which is.
He said there'd be mice coming out of the rocks. Like mice would come out and climb down his arm, and birds would fly out, And then of course, if he goes at a certain time of day, dew, moisture.
Right. The rocks get slippery and stuff. Oh my God.
He was taking a toothbrush, for goodness sake, because he was planning his route, right? So there were certain areas where he had to figure out certain routes which were going to be the safest, because he didn't want to do any leaping and jumping and grabbing.
Right.
And that was part of that climb, is there might have been 2 spots where he would have to leap and jump and grab onto, like a ledge about 1.5 inches with his fingertips, with three fingers, and try to hold on.
That's crazy, dude. All right, buddy, let's jump into the next segment here. People are looking to get a hold of you either for, any questions on network cable servicing or anything with the networks or any storage or anything like that. What's the best way to get a hold of you? You want to do your email address? You got a business phone number they can call or anything like that?
They can email me at dustinertelt@gmail.com, dustinertelt@gmail.com.
You can also reach him probably at his Veracity one, which is Dustin, Dustin, at Veracity, Verazity, storage.com.
Yeah.
And then what do you want? You got a business phone number, or you want to just do your personal, or what do you got if they want to call you?
Yeah, they can shout out 701-212-6749. That's my personal number. Be happy to help you out in any networking needs, or if you have any storage or logistic questions, we'd be happy to do it. I know John and I have kind of made it a point to, if you're developing a storage company or anything like that, we'd be more than happy to help out in the process, give you any advice. I mean, we don't necessarily take any cash or need any monetary value on that. We just like to network and make sure that people are succeeding. We feel like we've done a good job. We've went through the trials and tribulations, and we've kind of figured it out a little bit, at least on this first phase of our business career. So we'd be happy to let anybody know what we ran into that was an issue and how we did to circumvent it long term.
Absolutely. All right, so wrap it up. We have a segment called the Super Unknown Question of the Day.
Fun.
I call it the Suck OTD. So what I do is I have 100 questions that are basically unknown. I don't know what the question is. You obviously don't know what it is. And it's kind of people... It basically says 100 unanswerable questions that'll blow your mind. So you need to pick a number between 1 and 100.
Okay.
I'll read off the question. I'll give you time to answer, and then I'll answer. And if need be, we'll go to Miss Google and find a little bit better answer. So pick a number between 1 and 100.
I'll do number 59.
59. Any significance to that number, or you just randomly came to your head?
That's pretty random.
Okay. Here we go. If Winnie the Pooh was civilized enough to keep his honey in jars, why did he eat it off his hands? Surely he had spoons. Don't you think he could have just used spoons? Like, he has the honey in a jar, right? Like, why not have like a spoon?
Because he's a bear. Like, he's got to have some sort of like animalistic value to him. He can't be totally human. He has to be a little bit of a bear.
I mean, but yeah, that's true. But I mean, he literally has it in a jar.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get it in the jar? Do you think he just like held under the beehive or what?
I mean, he's not your average bear.
They probably just did that. It's obviously a character. I was reading something about Winnie-the-Pooh. God, I don't know what it was. Maybe the guy who invented it. But anyway, yeah, that's a pretty good question. I don't really know how to answer that other than that.
I feel like they're trying to make sure the kids know that he's relatable because he's human-like, but he's still a bear. I'm
a pretty big Winnie-the-Pooh fan when I was a kid.
Yeah. What did you think of him? Did you think of him like a bear, or did you like, oh, he's my friend? Like,
he was he was a bear. But I never really thought,
like a cuddly
why
bear?
does he not have a spoon to...
Like a cuddly bear? Or would you want to go hug him?
I mean, I was a kid. I was just entertained, dude. It's so easy to entertain me. I never really thought anything into it, but...
My kids, they don't watch Winnie-the-Pooh, so I haven't seen a Winnie-the-Pooh episode in a long time.
Well, I wonder what everybody else thinks. If anybody has any suggestions on that question, that's a pretty good one. I'm not sure why. Robbie probably have a pretty good response why he didn't have any spoons. Or let us know if you guys come up with anything clever. All right, buddy. That's basically going to wrap up our show. One last time, if you need to get a hold of Dustin, it's one way to get a hold is Dustin at veracitystorage.com. That's DUSTIN at VERAZITY storage.com. And then one more time with your phone number, Dusty.
701-212-6749.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gents, that wraps up today's show. Till next time, peace.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of the Johnny Miller Audio Experience. You can support the show by supporting your local businesses, especially today's guest. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Johnny_audio and recommend us to a friend. If they own a local business, even better. We look forward to helping your business get the word out right here on the Johnny Miller Audio Experience.